But we have some things in the works here, okay? So we are going to be building something out. For now, we are going to be dealing with this little temporary setup. But let me know what you think of it. I am excited to finally be able to live stream again. I've been in the middle of a major move, so you know what that means. It means I've sadly fallen back on work, okay? I am lucky enough to call my job a Dynasty analyst. Is that a safe way to put it? Where we are going to be in charge of going through and looking at a ridiculous amount of Dynasty rosters here. Our first one coming out from Double Rice No Bean. As I go ahead and set this up, please, my friend, make sure, if you have not done so already, talking to you here, everybody, drop a like on this live stream. Subscribe to the channel if you play Dynasty Fantasy Football. And of course, if you want to get access to my rankings, if you want to get access to all of your favorite Dynasty creators' rankings, and at the same time, if you want to get your Dynasty team broken down on one of these videos, make sure you go sign up for flockfantasy.com. Use promo code FLOCK. You'll get 30% off any subscription. And with the Mother Flocker tier and promo code FLOCK, you are going to get your team broken down by yours truly on one of these videos or in a personalized podcast, whatever you would prefer. But I think that should be about it for the intro. Let's go ahead and let's fire this bad boy up. And of course, you can find the link to flockfantasy.com in the comment section and the description. But anyway, Double Rice No Bean here says, coming off a 10 to a 12 team expansion draft, I would love to see how that went. I mean, I've seen a lot of people go through and run those expansion leagues, but it's very hard to do it well. I mean, it kind of is what it is. But anyway, hence the lack of depth, draft picks, and low to mid-range players contemplating moving a running back for Kyler Fields Jones, who are all in the trade block. We have the 101, 103, which we're assuming is going to be Bijan Robinson, JSN. We'll get to that at the end. Strong inclination that Levis goes at 4, so I'll probably take whichever the big 3 are left at 6. We have a half point per reception for running back, full point per reception for wide receiver, 1.5 point per reception for tight end. I actually really like this format. Having this kind of tiered PPR, and a big adjustment that I usually make is obviously outside of making sure that we're more so targeting running backs that are going to be able to score touchdowns rather than just log a ridiculous amount of targets. But also this is going to make it where we want to be going with wide receivers in that flex spot. Obviously, we're not going to be going through and starting Rondale Moore over Saquon Barkley in the flex. But when we have two guys that are going to be close, we are always going to be leaning with the wide receiver in the flex over a running back. It's going to be an easy tiebreaker here. But let's go ahead and let's swing this around. Let's pull up this team. Going to be led off at quarterback by both Russell Wilson and Trey Lance. So not going to lie to you, my friend, I have a ridiculous, I would say an embarrassing amount of Trey Lance in Dynasty. I think that he is a quarterback that has all the ceiling in the world. The reason I went heavy into Trey Lance is he got a ton invested into him. The 49ers spent 3 first-round picks to go out there and get him at 3 overall. He steps into arguably the best situation you can find in the NFL with that 49ers roster. Also, he has a ton of rushing upside. So in my mind, from a QB prospect perspective, check pretty much every box that we were looking for. And I still think that he has a lot of upside, but I'd be lying to myself. I'd be lying to you if I thought the floor was high with Trey Lance. Of course, this is a player that has absolutely no floor whatsoever. I mean, it can be really, really ugly with Lance. Russell Wilson, I think, is a player that gives you, in my mind, most likely a QB2 season this next year. You're going to have a better wide receiver talent. You'll presumably have Sutton, Judy healthy the entire year. Patrick healthy the entire season. Obviously, we get the report about KJ Hamler missing the majority of the offseason right now, but still, you're going to have better depth overall. You're going to have your tight end going into year 2. Javonte Williams probably healthy. I'm going to assume that Russell Wilson's a quarterback too in fantasy. Going down here, we really have Jordan Love, and that's about it. With Jordan Love, it's a wild card. We have no idea what to expect. We really have never seen Jordan Love over a prolonged period of time. I don't see how he's going to be phenomenal if Aaron Rodgers wasn't this past season. I mean, I'm personally saying that I think Love's fine to have as your QB3, but if we were relying on him as a QB2, I'd be a little bit worried there. Now, going over to running back, strength of the team, easily. Jonathan Taylor, Breece Hall. You can make an argument. I personally don't have it this way, but you can make a realistic argument that JT and Hall are number 1 and number 2 as dynasty overall running backs if you're not all in on Bijan Robinson. But what is hilarious is going down to this team, we have the 101. So we arguably have the dynasty running back 1 overall. We have the dynasty running back 2 overall and the dynasty running back 3 overall. Checkmate. We're done. Ramondre Stevenson here in the flex spot. I would not mind looking to see what we could get for Ramondre Stevenson. If we could swing him for like a cornerstone wide receiver, like if we could sell Ramondre Stevenson for Drake London. I'm sure you saw the article we put out in flockfantasy.com about Drake London, I believe last week. I think that would make a lot of sense in this format where you're getting half a point per reception for running back and a full point per reception for a wide receiver. And Ramondre Stevenson is really locked into being your running back 4. You have AJ Dillon as some depth here as your RB4. I would actually really like AJ Dillon. So I don't mind at all looking to sell Ramondre Stevenson possibly for a wide receiver. And going over to our wide receiver, I mean, we have CeeDee Lamb, the wide receiver 3 overall in Dynasty. We have Olave, in my mind, a second-round startup pick. We have Christian Watson. I mean, if he's your wide receiver 3, I think you're super happy. Brandon Ayuk is your wide receiver 4. I think you're super happy. Going down to the bench, we don't have too much depth. I mean, actually, we have Jameson Williams. And at the same time, when we're looking at these rookie picks that we have, we are in a phenomenal spot, my friend. Now, going over to tight ends, it's a position that obviously you're getting a tight end premium with. We have Dawson Knox in the starting lineup. Beyond that, we really don't have too much depth. So specifically because we are so strong everywhere else in the roster, I am not going to shy away from possibly upgrading at tight end. Like if you wanted to go through, if you wanted to say sell this 106 and try to go get TJ Hawkinson, try to go get Mark Andrews, try to maybe sell the 106, 202 and go get Kyle Pitts. I'd actually really like a move like that with how strong this team currently sits at running back as well as wide receiver. You already said it. 101, we are going to be going Bijan Robinson. 103, I know you said you wanted to go Jackson Smith and Jigba, but to be honest with you, my man, while I love JSN, while I definitely think that he is the wide receiver 1 in this class, in my mind, to go through and to take him over any of the top 3 QBs, I think that would be way too aggressive, especially if we go back to who we currently have at quarterback, where we're sitting with Russell Wilson, Trey Lance, Jordan Love. Like I said, I have Lance in a lot of leagues, and I think Lance still has an incredibly high ceiling, but I can't fool myself. I can't sit here and say, okay, Lance is for sure an elite level player. We frankly don't know with Trey Lance. I mean, Lance could be great, but also this could be someone that we don't really ever see start for the 49ers again. So I don't mind taking a swing on an upside quarterback at 3, whether that's CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, maybe Anthony Richardson, if he's actually the guy who goes off at 1, specifically to the Carolina Panthers. In my mind, I would actually really like trying to make a move like that, bring in that 4th quarterback so we just know for sure that we have the position locked down, because wide receiver, we're sitting pretty, my man, especially when we add in another skill position guy such as Bijan Robinson 101, and in my mind, that allows us to trade Ramondre as we were already discussing. But overall, I know this was very short. I mean, speaking of the 202, 203, I guess we can just talk on these assets briefly. 202, 203, we're looking at borderline day 2, day 3 running backs. We're looking at maybe Tajay Spears or Sean Johnson, Sean Tucker. I mean, we all know all the names depending on the draft capital that they come away with. Or we're going to be looking at wide receivers possibly falling a bit. Maybe Josh Downs falls there. And in my mind, if we go back to this team where specifically we are not going too deep with the starting lineup, and we are so loaded up with the skill position guys once we add in Bijan Robinson here, I don't really see how those early seconds make too much of a difference. And that's why I was saying I think that those are nice assets to include in a deal to possibly upgrade at tight end, specifically with us being so strong everywhere else. And like we said, it is a premium format as well. So, I mean, I'm not too excited about the 203, 202 range, even in a Superflex league. I'd probably be looking to move those picks in this league format, specifically with how damn good this roster is. But thank you again, my friend. I know that was a shorter breakdown, and I apologize for it. But to be honest with you, the team's ridiculous. What the hell am I supposed to say? Like, okay, my friend, you have the best team in your league. You're adding Bijan Robinson to the best team in your league. you got it unlocked. Thank you again so much for being a member of the flock. And as always, if there's anything that I can do to improve flockfantasy.com for you, please do not hesitate to let me know. And I'm so sorry that this took a week to get you. Usually we are way faster about this, but like I said, it's been hell moving over the past 3 or 4 days. I literally got this studio, this temporary little setup for y'all set up maybe 15 minutes ago, right before we went live. But Caesar coming out with a donation before we get to our next one. Thank you, my friend. Says, traded CeeDee Lamb, Jalen Hyatt, James Conner for Chris Olave, Jahan Dotson, and a 2025 first. Okay, so obviously we're downgrading from Lamb to Olave, but honestly, I would probably rather have Olave and a future first over CeeDee Lamb. I'm very excited about Olave. I think the future first gives you a lot of flexibility with how we're going to be making roster moves later on this offseason or possibly even during the year. And then Jahan Dotson versus James Conner, Jalen Hyatt isn't even close for me. I'm going to go Jahan Dotson. So I like the Olave, Dotson, and 2025 first side, even if CeeDee Lamb's the best asset in the deal. But let's scroll down here. Let's go over to our next team. This one coming out from RG Layson. This is a 10-team Superflex standard scoring with PPR. Recently traded away the 102-107 Treylon Burks for CMC, Ayuk, and Hawkinson. Okay, so if we break this down, Burks and Ayuk, in my mind, the same guy. I don't think they're swinging this trade one way or another. If we're looking at the 102-107 versus CMC, TJ Hawkinson, 107 versus Hawkinson, probably give me TJ. And then if we're looking at the 102 versus CMC, I personally would probably prefer the 102 in Superflex, but I completely understand if you're a contending roster going and getting Christian McCaffrey. And actually, now that I look at this team in a little more detail, I actually think CMC probably makes a lot of sense here. Been watching the videos for 2 years, first time subscribing, so looking forward to the year. Feel free to use for whatever. Thanks. So thank you so much again, my man. I truly do appreciate it. And I'm going to be very happy to pull this up, but let's swing this roster up here. Okay. Perfect. Okay. So what I want to point out before we get to anything, like we've done this a couple times, but I think it's incredibly important when we look at a roster like this. We are starting one quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, a flex, and a super flex. So I am no mathematician, but I believe with my little basic napkin math here, we are starting 8 total players. So if we are starting 8 total players and it is super flex, that means 25% of our starting lineup requirements are the quarterback position. That means if you have 2 elite level quarterbacks, good freaking luck to your league mates. If you have, say, Joe Burrow and Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, it doesn't matter if you are extremely weak with wide receiver depth. If you have a trash tight end, if you have maybe a weak running back too, because those 2 quarterbacks will put up such a high percentage of the starting lineup output, if we are getting ahead with those 2 positions, which clearly outscore the rest of the field, it's unfair. It is unfair, but I think this entire team's unfair, if we're going to be honest. So going into it, quarterback, we have Joe Burrow, Russell Wilson. Down there on the bench, we have Trey Lance for the upside, obviously incredibly low floor. Jimmy G, Mac Jones. Keep in mind, it's going to be a 10-team league, so it's going to be much easier to find a quarterback starter like with Jimmy Garoppolo here. It's not like he has a ridiculous amount of value. We're not picking in this year's rookie draft in any range where we're going to be able to come away with a quarterback, so we're not going to be able to bring in, say, Bryce Young. It's not happening to this team, but honestly, QB, we are just fine. Going over to running back, we're going to be looking at Travis Etienne, Christian McCaffrey. Very comfortable with where we sit there. Going down to the bench, we have Tyler Algier, James Cook. With James Cook, I understand a lot of people are freaking out now that we have Damian Harris coming over to Buffalo. And yeah, I mean, I understand why. Damian Harris most likely going to get the goal line role. That was never James Cook's game anyway. James Cook, you're drafting literally just to be the passing down running back in Buffalo. If you think that James Cook, with the BMI of, off the top of my head, I believe 27.8, is ever going to go out there and be a goal line running back, is ever going to be a running back that's getting 30 touches a game, I'm sorry, it's not happening. In my mind, the Damian Harris addition definitely doesn't change where I sit with James Cook. I think it's a committee. I think Cook's the passing down running back. I think Damian Harris is the first and second down grinder. I think they complement each other nicely. And I think James Cook, if he was ever going to succeed, still going to be able to do it in the same role. Tyler Algier, I actually feel like is maybe a little bit of an underrated asset. And 9 times out of 10, those guys that go on day 3 of the NFL draft, I'm quick to sell after they have any success year 1. Now, wide receiver, we have A.J. Brown, Jamar Chase, Chris Olave. They're going down there to the bench, Juju, Sutton, Ayuk. So if we were looking at how shallow this bench is, and if we were looking at how shallow the starting lineup is in general, the quick thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look to try to sell some of these depth wide receivers that in my mind would make a difference if it was a 12-team league where we're starting 11 guys. But specifically in a format that's going to be this shallow, it is the easiest thing in the world to just go through and move off of Brandon Cooks. Move off of Brandon Ayuk. Move off of Juju Smith-Schuster. I think the easiest way to do this will be with, say, that 202 pick that we have, where if we could go through and sell, say, the 202, Rashad White, Brandon Ayuk, and go get Drake London, get someone that we believe actually has an elite level ceiling, I would really like that. I'd be willing to throw in Rashad Penny, really any one of those little depth pieces, because in my mind, with this shallow of a format, with this loaded of a starting lineup, what the hell are we ever going to be doing with Juju Smith-Schuster? If our season comes down to Juju, I mean, something had to go dramatically wrong. Now, tight end, Hawkinson, I actually like getting the elite level tight end here specifically because we only have 1 flex spot. Like, you only start 2 wide receivers and 1 flex. That means that wide receiver depth isn't really going to be moving the needle nearly as much as just having elite level assets at the onesie positions. So I really like having Hawkinson here. And if we were to go through and maybe make any other moves, I think outside of just trying to pivot off of those depth wide receivers and possibly get an upgrade at the wide receiver position itself, I think the big thing that we could look to do with how damn good this roster is, and specifically in this format where studs are like the only thing that matters, I actually do like just getting a player that has a higher ceiling than anybody else, and Christian McCaffrey in that deal that you made previously. If it was a different league format, maybe we'd stand differently, but in this league, just go trade for the studs. Get the players that have the highest ceilings. But that's a quick tangent. Going back to what we are looking to do here, Russell Wilson is someone that I actually think will improve this next season. Not a big Russ fan, but if you were playing in like a 12-team league where you're starting 11 guys, I think Russ is a fine quarterback too, if we can be strong at the other positions. But specifically in this format where we're starting 8 guys, it's a 10-team league, and we clearly have the best team in the league. Nobody's going to be able to come close to us. I do not mind going out of our way and seeing if we can upgrade at quarterback, seeing if we can sell Russell Wilson, throw in Tyler Algier, throw in Brandon Ayuk, throw in the 202, throw in Rashad White, go try to take 5 quarters and turn them into $1. While maybe on paper, if you plugged it in the trade calculator, it would say, oh no, you're giving up too much value here. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the trade calculator says. You are in a position where we just need to be going and getting the best asset that we actually can. I think if we can go out there and get Justin Herbert, if we can go out there and get Jalen Hurts, Trevor Lawrence, you're not getting Allen, you're not getting Mahomes. Those guys are just going to be untouchable. But I think that would make so much sense for this team. And I'd even be willing to throw in another elite asset. Like if the deal was Russell Wilson, Chris Olave, the 202, and we're getting back Herbert, sign me up in this format to be able to do that. But thank you again so much for being a member of the flock. I'm very sorry to keep this one short as well, but come on. What am I supposed to say? Look at this team. We even have the Burrow Chase stack, but thank you again for everything. I really do appreciate you, my friend. And if you ever want to see anything improved on Flock Fantasy, do not hesitate. Reach out to me immediately. I'd be super happy to get that done for you. But let's pivot over. Let's go over to our next team here. Just want to test to make sure that we haven't done this for Moose Goose yet. Okay. No, we have not. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get this going for Moose Goose. Long time member of the flock here. I think a lot of people in the flock know who he is. I definitely do. And of course, my friend, I owe you a massive thanks. You've been a part of the flock forever now. We don't have a bench, so I'm going to need to message him. Hopefully we can get to this actually later on. I don't want to do this for him until we actually get to see his bench because we're just going to half-ass it if we don't have the bench. Okay, how about Chronic Spaz? Have we done it for Chronic Spaz yet? Okay. We actually have one here we can do for Moose Goose. I'm so sorry, everyone. This is the struggles of being a live stream rather than a video. But let's go ahead. Let's pull this up. It's going to be a 12-team 0.75 tight end premium league. Thanks for all the content you make. Curious what direction you think makes the most sense given where the team stands today. Feel free to use on YouTube. Okay, perfect. Let's go ahead and let's look at the league settings before anything else. Keep in mind, 12-team league. This is also a league where we are getting that additional 0.75 points for the tight end position. Outside of that, really nothing we should be talking about. I think it looks pretty much standard. Now, going to the starting lineup, just go position by position here as we always do. Love going QB, running back, wide receiver, tight end. Quarterback, we have Deshaun Watson, Derek Carr. In my mind, I think Deshaun Watson, great QB1 to have. I mean, this is someone that obviously disappointed us this past season. But still, if we go back and remove the 6-game sample we saw this past year, Deshaun Watson is someone that has the ceiling historically as the #1 quarterback overall in fantasy. And he has the floor historically as the #4 overall quarterback, maybe #5 overall quarterback in fantasy. It's a ridiculous floor ceiling combination. Going down, we don't really have anything else that we can be working with as our QB3. I'm not in love with Derek Carr at quarterback 2. I definitely think that Derek Carr is an upgrade for the New Orleans Saints over Andy Dalton with where they stood this past season. But at the same time, Carr has no rushing upside. So really, what are we doing here? Now, what's very interesting is we've already drafted rookies here. Doesn't matter too much in the case of Bijan Robinson at running back. I think we can safely say that Bijan Robinson is going to be a top 5 RB in Dynasty, regardless of what the landing spot is. But we'll be interested to see if we have any other rookies on the team outside of these top-end studs. Now, going down to the bench, we have Kamara. With Alvin Kamara, I mean, if we are looking at the redraft price of him currently, it's a running back that's going like as a borderline running back 3, running back 4 in best ball. Now, of course, best ball is not always 100% accurate. It's not like he's being drafted as a running back 3, and that means he's for sure running back 3. But hell, I mean, best ball drafters on Underdog are pretty damn sharp. So if we see those guys taking him as a running back 3 overall for 2023, that probably means we should not be excited about what we are going to have this next season. And we should definitely not be excited about what we are going to have from a dynasty perspective. Personally, I think that he's probably a running back 2 this upcoming year, but you obviously have the suspension risk. McKinnon, I mean, we don't really know what to assume. I would say that in general, we don't have a lot of running back depth here, but also in general, in this format where we are only starting one running back, I don't think we have to have running back depth. In my mind, I think we load up with wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver. It's a full PPR format. Usually you can grab some wide receivers for a little bit cheaper than what you can grab running backs for if they're going to be providing the same points. So if I were to build this team out, I would probably have Bijan Robinson as RB1, not too much behind him elsewhere, and then just be loading up on as many wide receiver 2s as we possibly can. I mean, this is the opposite of the format that we talked about in the breakdown previously, where we were saying you don't want the guys like Brandon Ayuk. Here in this format, Brandon Ayuk is a great piece to have. And a wide receiver, we currently have Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. So you have the 2021 wide receiver Ohio State room here. Super funny that you have all 3 of these teammates. It would be funny if you also had Jameson Williams, obviously. But anyway, Ohio State class, a phenomenal group of guys to have. Here's your wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3. But going down to the bench, we don't really have any depth at all at wide receiver. And this is a format where you need a lot of depth. Unlike the last format, I mean, we're going through and we are starting, let's get our little napkin math out here. I mean, we have 5 non-flexes, and then we have 6 flexes. So this is a start 11 league. So it's the exact opposite of what we were looking at with the last one. Here we actually want to be going through and we want to be building around wide receiver depth. So if we were to go ahead and make any moves, it's very difficult because this team has a lot of assets where we could go in either direction. I mean, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, TJ Hawkinson, Bijan Robinson, Deshaun Watson. In my mind, all of these are players that could help you win now. I think that's a safe assumption to make. I think that these could be assets on a contending team that put up a lot of points this upcoming season. But at the same time, on the opposite end of the spectrum, this could be a team that you want to build long-term with. All these assets are incredibly young. We definitely don't have enough firepower here. Like, if we were not to make a move, this team does not have enough firepower to compete. We can't be going into a season projected out to start Cade Otton, Darius Slayton, Joshua Palmer in our starting lineup, especially if we're going down to the bench and we're looking at the fact that we have no depth whatsoever. We've already done our 2023 rookie draft, so it's not like we're going to be able to add in some quality rookies. We've already done it. If we're looking at those 2024 first, I think the worst thing that we could do is get antsy with where our current team is and say, okay, we don't have enough firepower to get it done now. Let me go through and trade a 2024 first. Let's go bring in another depth wide receiver that can be a quality flex spot play for us the rest of the season. And let me go sell our 2024 seconds and get another wide receiver. Because if we added in 2 quality wide receiver starters, just say 2 wide receiver 2s, we added in 2 guys that look like Brandon Ayuk, then at that point, I think that this team could be competitive this next year, but you would also be mortgaging your future at an unnecessary time when we know that those 2024 first are only going to continue to increase in value. So I agree with you. I think that this team lacks identity, and it's very, very, very difficult to figure out which direction that we want to go in. But I think we need to wait until we get through the preseason, because the worst thing that could ever happen, right, is we go through, we trade our 2024 first, we trade our 2024 seconds, we go get some depth wide receivers to help us contend this year, and then week 2 of the preseason or in training camp, Bijan Robinson tears his ACL. Then week 1 of the regular season, Jackson Smith-Njigba, high ankle sprain, or Garrett Wilson, high ankle sprain. And all of a sudden, this is a team that we realize, okay, there's no way in hell we can be competitive this upcoming season. And we already sold all our future picks, so we are screwed. What I would rather do is I would rather wait. I don't think you have too many players on this roster right now that are going to lose value from March to August. I think we wait until the season starts. We play 3 or 4 weeks, have a decent idea of what we are going to be getting from Jackson Smith-Njigba, Bijan Robinson year 1, have a decent idea with what the Alvin Kamara suspension situation is going to look like, what the overall health of the team is. And then if at that point, say we are 4-0, we are 3-1, and we're scoring a lot of points, it looks like we have some quality breakouts, then at that point, I think we can feel comfortable to go through and approach a team that maybe starts slow and say, hell, I see that you're starting slow. I'll go through. I will ship you my 2024 first. Give me Drake London in return. And I think that is honestly a deal that you could possibly get done, but I would just rather wait until we have the clarity that we are that contending team, because 1 to 2 injuries with this team not having any depth, this could also be a team that's in contention to get the 101 next year. So I'm very sorry to not give you a concrete answer of what we should be doing today. I think today we sit on our hands, let the offseason play out, and then determine at the beginning of this next year if it makes sense for us to decide to mortgage those future picks to get production in now to go and contend immediately. Because like I said, we have the young players that we could look to play the long term with, but we also have the win now assets that we could look to go in with currently. But thank you so much for being a member of the flock again, my friend. But as we pivot over to our next team, let me answer the donation we have from Tajay. Thank you so much, my friend, for coming out. Says, Dynasty Superflex, we traded Lamar, Devin Duvernay, Alexander Madison for Dak Prescott, Brandon Cooks, George Pickens. We have Patrick Mahomes, Trey Lance, Brock Purdy, Adam Thielen, and Jacoby were my best wide receivers. Okay. Going Lamar to Dak, clear downgrade. Adding in Cooks, Pickens, in my mind, isn't moving the needle much. I understand that Brandon Cooks finds himself in probably the best situation you could imagine with Dallas. I think it makes so much sense for the Dallas Cowboys to go out there and pay that price for Brandon Cooks. I think he's going to fit in their offense nicely. And with Brandon Cooks, I think he could be a fine fantasy asset this next season as a wide receiver 3. And if you get a wide receiver 3 season from Brandon Cooks, where previous to this, he's being drafted as like a wide receiver 5, that's a win. But does that move the needle when we're talking about a Lamar Jackson to Dak Prescott downgrade. In my mind, it doesn't. And I'd say the same thing. I'm a little bit lower on George Pickens, at least if we're going to be looking at the gap between those two quarterbacks. Whereas, yeah, George Pickens made some highlight grabs. He was a polarizing prospect coming into the NFL. But at the same time, we didn't necessarily see the ability to command volume in year one. I mean, if we're looking at the target share, Deontay Johnson was still by far and away the wide receiver one in Pittsburgh. Maybe that's going to be different this next season. But I really don't want to be pivoting down from Lamar Jackson to Dak Prescott if we're picking up a wide receiver 3 that was drafted in 2014 and Brandon Cooks. And in my mind, can a wide receiver that's going to be fighting for the number 1 wide receiver spot for Kenny Pickett? And we don't even know if he's going to get it. So personally, my friend, I'm sorry. I probably would have rather had Lamar Jackson there. But let's go ahead and let's find our next team. This one, I believe, coming out was, so we just did Moose Gooses. Did we do Chronic Spazzes? No, we did not, because this is going to be an 8-team Superflex League. Thank you, my man, for being a member of the flock, as always. 30-man bench, since we only have 8 teams, completely standard. I mean, if you're just going to go through and do the math, that's 240 players being benched. That's about equivalent as a 20-man bench in a 12-team league. And then tight end bonus of 0.25. So in reality, that makes not much of a difference. I have pick number 3, pick number 9. Okay, so I think that we are actually going to have a decent amount to work with here. But thank you again for everything, my friend. Let's go ahead and let's open this up. Okay. So 8-team league. And at the same time, if we're going to be looking at the amount of starting spots we have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we are starting 80 total players. 80 total players, whereas if you're going to be looking at a league that, say, is a 12-teamer where you start 11, it's 80 versus 132. Massive difference. If this team is going to be a true contender, we need a running back 1 there at running back 1. We need a running back 2 at running back 2. We need multiple wide receiver 1s. We need an elite tight end. We need an elite quarterback set. We need very, very good players here. The bar is extremely high to be competitive in this format in particular. So to go through this, starting off at quarterback, I mean, we're starting off on the wrong foot here. We have Dak Prescott, Derek Carr, Matthew Stafford, Mac Jones, Sam Howell. Keep in mind, it's an 8-team league. So on average, and this is average, every team in your league can have 4 starting NFL quarterbacks. So depth and security at the quarterback position, all of a sudden, even if this is a super flex league, doesn't really matter if on average, everybody can have 4 starters, because it's an 8-team league, supply and demand. Mac Jones is really never going to have any value here. Whereas in a 14-team super flex league, he's going to have a crap ton of value. Now, if we're going to be going over and looking at the upside of these quarterbacks, Mac Jones doesn't run the ball. Matthew Stafford doesn't run the ball. Derek Carr doesn't run the ball. Brock Purdy is mobile, but he doesn't run the ball. Dak Prescott's mobile, but he doesn't run the ball. I think the ceiling with these quarterbacks going to be severely capped. If we're looking at Dak Prescott, I think he could be a quarterback 1 easily in a 12-team format. It's going to be more difficult for him to be a quarterback 1 in an 8-team league. And I don't even think we have a quarterback 2 here after Dak Prescott for that 8-team league. I don't know if we have another quarterback that fits inside the top 16 quarterbacks in fantasy, if I'm going to be honest. So I think we're a little underweight at QB. Running back, rolling with Kenneth Walker, Nick Chubb, Joe Mixon in the starting lineup. Then going down there to the bench, I mean, we have Khalil Herbert, Damian Harris. I understand that Damian Harris finds a good landing spot. Be honest with you, I would not mind going through and trying to shop Damian Harris, because if we are looking at Harris, so running back that is never going to catch the ball, he's going to be in a clear committee with James Cook. And I understand a lot of people are saying, okay, well, he can be this year's Jamal Williams. No. Damian Harris will never be this year's Jamal Williams. A, Jared Goff doesn't vulture rushing touchdowns at the goal line. Josh Allen will. B, Jamal Williams isn't a DeAndre Swift level pass catcher, but he will catch the ball. Damian Harris will not. So I personally have not been opposed to going through and seeing what kind of price point we could currently get with Damian Harris. And it maybe honestly makes sense to sell, because I've seen a lot of hype around this Damian Harris landing spot with the Buffalo Bills. I think this is a player that could definitely be a top 24 running back, But in an 8-team league, does a top 24 running back move the needle? In my mind, no. Now, going over to wide receiver, we have Waddle, CeeDee Lamb, love it. Keenan Allen, Zay Jones as well, going down to the bench. I mean, we really don't have anybody else at the wide receiver position. I guess you can say Deontay Johnson. I don't want to get too excited about Adam Thielen, DJ Chark as veteran wide receivers playing with a rookie QB. We have Brandon Cooks, Gabe Davis, wide receivers that I think would be quality depth in that 12-team format. 8-team league, going to be a little bit more difficult to get excited about it. Going over to tight end, we have David Njoku, which I'm excited about. We have Darren Waller as well. I actually really like what we have at tight end. I mean, I think if you're not going to be able to get one of the truly elite level players, these are two names that are fine to take shots with. Of course, I think they have very low floors, but also they have relatively high ceilings. We've seen Darren Waller be the tight end 3 overall in fantasy before. And David Njoku, in my mind, is one of the best tight end prospects, at least from an athleticism standpoint, that we have seen in a very, very long time. So I actually like where we stand at tight end. But overall, this is what I hate about the team, if I'm going to be honest with you. I hate it, hate it, hate it. We don't have our 2024 first, and we don't have our 2025 first. So we put ourselves in a position where if we are not contending this year, if we are not winning the league this year, we're screwed. What happens in this league, say, Kenneth Walker, high ankle sprain, CeeDee Lamb, torn ACL? It's an 8-team league. In my mind, this is an average team for an 8-team league. 12-team league, oh my gosh, I'd be applauding, right? I'd be going, oh, this is phenomenal. But in an 8-team league where the bar is so much higher, I think this is about an average team. And the issue is when we go through and sell those future picks, the second something goes wrong, we fall to being below average. Say we lose CeeDee Lamb. Say we lose Kenneth Walker. One of those guys. It doesn't have to be for the entire season, but say they're out for 8 weeks. This seems kind of done for in an 8-team league. And because we sold those future picks, we don't have a safety measure. We don't have an emergency fund. I'm trying to find a way to go through and explain this. It's like we don't have a savings account. We just maxed out a bunch of credit cards, and it may very easily go well. I'm trying to come up with an analogy for this. It's like you went through and maxed out your credit cards, bought a bunch of Bitcoin, have no savings account. Yeah, I could see this working out. I could see things breaking right for this team. CeeDee Lamb being a top 3 wide receiver in fantasy. Nick Chubb, Kenneth Walker, both being running back 1s. Waddle's a wide receiver 1. You have a quarterback breakout as your QB2. Dak goes back to what he was previously. I could see it working out. But at the same time, we don't have a backup plan, and I could see how this easily goes wrong. In terms of actionable steps that we can take from here to possibly try to fix this situation, in my mind, I don't see too many. What's very difficult is since we don't have our future picks, it's hard for me to go through and say to start selling some of these veteran assets like Joe Mixon, like Keenan Allen, because we want their points now. You know, like we have no incentive moving off of 2023 points to try to get long-term value. We have every incentive in the world to go through and try to score as many points this season as humanly possible. I would say the only thing is, with this league being so shallow, to go through and try to make 2-for-1 deals where we're maybe selling a few veteran assets to get someone that we like that could be ascending, like selling Brandon Cooks and Damian Harris in a package, 2 guys that just find great landing spots, and go out of our way and get someone that we think is an ascending asset that could just be a difference maker. I like the idea of consolidating our roster specifically because of this being that 8-team league. Going down to the rookie picks, it's interesting. I really like that the 201 here is obviously a top 9 pick because in my mind, I think that there are 9 quality prospects in this draft. I think that you're looking at Bijan, then you have 4 quarterbacks, Stroud, Young, Richardson, Levis, whatever order you like. I think you have 3 wide receivers with JSN, Quentin Johnston, Jordan Addison. You have Jahmyr Gibbs as well. I think you have 9 quality assets. We are going to get one of those guys 201, and we are at the same time going to get I don't know who at the 103 because this being an 8-team Superflex league, it's hard to say to just take a quarterback. It's a little bit different in that 8-team league than a 12-team league. One thing that we could also look to do potentially is 201 say we are going to get a very good player. Say we get Jordan Addison, right? If we get Jordan Addison 201, which keep in mind, 8-team league, that's the 9th pick overall. Then we wait a month until the dog days of summer, find someone who likes Jordan Addison in our league, or maybe this is Quentin Johnson, whoever it may be, sell them for a 2024 first. Because when we're buying that 2024 first, it's locked in to be a top 8 pick. You have a 50% chance that you're getting a top 4 overall prospect in next year's draft. So I don't mind going through and making that move, because if you asked everybody that plays Dynasty, would you rather have Jordan Addison or a 2024 first? Would you rather have Quentin Johnson or a 2024 first? Most people would take the wide receiver. But if your league mates don't fully understand that this is an 8-team league, so those first round picks are inherently a little more valuable, it would be something that I would personally look to take advantage of. But thank you again so much, my friend, for being a member of the flock, supporting the channel. I hope that was able to help you out in some way. I really hope we were able to do something there. And of course, as always, if there's anything that I can improve on for you, please do not hesitate. Reach out to me and let me know ASAP. Okay. But now we're going to go ahead. We are going to be looking at this team from Taki. It's going to be a 12-team full PPR league here, where we need to pull this up in the other browser. I'm going to assume that we have standard scoring elsewhere. Okay. So we're going to be starting 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, a tight end, a flex, and a super flex. Kicker defense, I'm super sorry. I'm an idiot. I'm not going to be able to help you. Kicker defense, okay? If I'm going to be completely honest, if I try to go through and name 15 kickers in the NFL, I probably couldn't do it. I could probably name all 32 defenses, I'll tell you that much, but I probably would not be able to rank them for you. That's for damn sure. So going through, all jokes aside, let's look at the quarterback position first off. Deshaun Watson. I actually really like having Deshaun Watson as QB1 in a 12-team Superflex league. We just got done discussing this. Quarterback that historically has shown us that he has an incredibly high floor and ceiling combination from a fantasy football standpoint. Obviously did not demonstrate that this past season, but at the same time, with Deshaun Watson, this was a quarterback that had a super limited sample. Going over to Russ, I'm not a big Russ fan. Obviously, you'll know I wasn't drafting Russ this past year, screaming for nobody to draft Courtland Sutton. But it's besides the point. I mean, I think if we're going forward with Russell Wilson's value, honestly, I think he's probably safe to be locked in my mind. Kind of as a quarterback too. What's really nice with the contract, you are guaranteed that he's going to have a starting job for the foreseeable future. No QB3. Going down to the bench, though, we do have the 104. So we'll be taking another rookie quarterback. We'll get to that in just one bit. Going over to RB, we have DeAndre Swift and Travis Etienne. So we have a couple pass catchers here. What's really funny is, I mean, we were going through and saying, oh, you got to draft Travis Etienne everywhere. You have to draft Travis Etienne everywhere, because we thought he was going to be the next DeAndre Swift, and he is significantly better than Swift. Thank God he is not DeAndre Swift. But Swift himself is a running back that at this point, obviously you can't sell, and nobody really wants. They add in David Montgomery, and I think David Montgomery very easily may go out there and play the Jamal Williams role this past season, but maybe, just maybe, DeAndre Swift is able to stay healthy, and that is beneficial to what we are looking at in the long term. Maybe he can turn things around. Now, going down to the bench, if we're going to be looking at this, Rashad Penny, I personally am not over the moon about. I loved Rashad Penny as a prospect, but injury after injury after injury. And if we are going to be looking at Penny's contract, the issue in my mind is the fact he has no guaranteed money. Like, if you're looking at Rashad Penny, well, yeah, I mean, maybe if he is the starting running back for the Philadelphia Eagles this next season, he's going to score fantasy points. In my mind, the probability he is the starting running back for the Philadelphia Eagles this next season, less than 50%. And I think that's an easy thing to say as well. Tyler Algier, I mean, super strong finish. And the Atlanta Falcons have not brought in anybody at running back. I mean, for all we know, it seems like they really like Tyler Algier. It seems like they want to continue to use Tyler Algier. So I am very comfortable with where he currently sits in Dynasty rankings. I'm not going to be looking to sell him personally. Going over to wide receiver, I mean, we have CeeDee Lamb, Michael Pittman, Treylon Burks, Courtland Sutton starting lineup. And then down there on the bench, we're going to be rolling with Darius Slayton, KJ Osborne, Romeo Doubs, DJ Chark. I do like the landing spot for DJ Chark. I mean, obviously, this is a team that really has nobody at wide receiver. I think that Chark, Thielen complement each other nicely. You possibly have Thielen as the red zone role. You have DJ Chark as the deep threat here. So I'm fine with him as a depth wide receiver. I mean, I think you're just going to be happy if he's able to be a wide receiver 3 in fantasy this next season. I'd say the same thing with KJ Osborne. You'd be happy if he's a wide receiver 3, but not too much to discuss at wide receiver here. I mean, you can't really sell Sutton anymore. Nobody's going to be buying him. Maybe, just maybe, Sean Payton can elevate this overall Denver Broncos roster, and all of a sudden Russell Wilson's able to be a top 10 quarterback in passing yards and passing touchdowns again. Probably not, but it's a possibility, and if that were to happen, maybe, just maybe, Courtland Sutton can be a wide receiver 3 in fantasy. Burks, prospect that I actually really liked. Tennessee has nobody to throw the ball to this next season. Should be an ugly offense, but I'm completely fine building around Treylon Burks as a wide receiver 3. Michael Pittman, someone else I didn't really like last year. I mean, we were selling him at the price, but his price has come down a lot, and I actually think that Michael Pittman's the same exact player that he was last year, and I think that all of a sudden you don't have everybody hyping up some garbage quarterback. So I think Michael Pittman is much more reasonable to own in Dynasty now. And there are no clear sell high candidates at the wide receiver position compared to where they were a year ago. Going over to tight end, Cole Kmet starting lineup, probably nothing. Greg Dulcich on the bench. I think you'll probably have one of these guys start worthy for you this next season. I mean, what I think I am bad about, and I think everybody else is as well, is we all tell ourselves, okay, we are not going to expect anything from rookie tight ends. We are not going to expect anything from year 2 tight ends. We understand that tight ends are going to take a very long time to develop, and they are not going to be productive until they're 25, 26, 27, but I'll invest into them anyway, and possibly they develop on our bench or whatever. Cole Kmet was someone that I honestly kind of had that stance with a year ago and 2 years ago, but I'm off of him now. So maybe this is just my own issue. Maybe I just need to realize Kmet's the same guy. You weren't really expecting him to produce this past season. He played in the worst passing offense that we've seen in modern NFL history. So it's not his fault that he goes out there and averages like 32 receiving yards per game. He's played every single game. He has never missed a game in his NFL career. And maybe I need to give more respect to Cole Kmet. The issue is that Chicago Bears passing offense, like I said, it's most likely going to be the most improved offense in the NFL this next season. But if you are the most improved offense in the NFL, starting at the worst offense in modern NFL history, at least passing offense, you're still probably going to be very bad. So it's probably still going to be a very bad passing offense. You have DJ Moore added on. I really like DJ Moore, the talent. So I think he's going to be able to get a lot of volume for what's there. I don't know. Maybe Cole Kmet is someone that I need to sit down and reevaluate. It's just every time you tell yourself, okay, I'm going to give this very young tight end time to develop. I'm not going to give up on him too early. And then 3 years go by and you're like, okay, this guy hasn't done anything. So it's probably a me issue, my friend. But going over to the rookie picks, this is what's going to help this team. Like, very rarely do you see a team that has one specific need that really needs to be addressed, and they're able to solve that with most likely a very good player in the rookie draft. I mean, obviously, it's never a guarantee, but at the 104, we are going to have the ability to take a quarterback that should be very good. We're going to have the ability to go out there and take one of Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson. I mean, I'm assuming Richardson's going to be the pick at 4. I mean, with Richardson, a quarterback that, of course, we don't necessarily know if he's going to be good from a real life perspective, but it looks like he's almost guaranteed to be a top 10 NFL draft pick. And if he's almost guaranteed to be a top 10 NFL draft pick and he has the rushing upside, I'm willing to go in. I'm willing to bet on him. And like we said, right now you have QB1 Deshaun Watson locked in, most guaranteed money in NFL history. So we know he's going to be the starter next year. And Russell Wilson, another quarterback that has a crap ton of guaranteed money. So we know Russell Wilson is going to be a starter. So we have 2 QBs with relatively high floors And in my mind, 104, Anthony Richardson, swing for the fences, makes a ton of sense. 204, very difficult to know what we're going to be looking at just yet. You're going to be looking at a lot of those borderline day 2, day 3 running backs, Rashawn Johnson, Sean Tucker, a million guys. We already know Tajay Spears. Maybe looking at Josh Downs, Jalen Hyatt, if they fall that far. There's not, in my mind, 204 is a trash pick. Like, if we could trade up to the 109, I would really like it. Like, if we could go through and say, sell Rashad Penny 204 and get a pick inside the top 10, I would love it. If we could sell DJ Chark 204, get a pick inside the top 10, I'd love it. I'd honestly probably sell Cortland Sutton 204 if we can get a pick inside the top 10. I'd really like that as well. But I think that's all we have for this team. Again, thank you so much, my friend, for being a member of the flock. And as always, if there's anything that I can do for you, please do not hesitate. Reach out to me immediately. Like, if you have a little thought in your head and you think flockfantasy.com is great, but it could be improved, you think you would like to see anything on it, do not hesitate. Reach out to me immediately. But now we're going to go over to this team from Saruki. Thank you. 10-team Superflex, full point, 6-point passing touchdown league. Going into our 3rd season, and this will be the first year with a Superflex spot. Love it. Just want to know your thoughts on which direction we should go in. Since posting this, we made a few new trades. So we put another picture lower down. The trades were Saquon, and the 105 for Jamison Judy 203. Oh, I do not like that, my friend. Hawkinson in the 106 for Goddard, the 107, and a 2024 late first. Okay, I actually really like that. 106, 107 in my mind, very comparable picks. Hawkinson to Goddard is a downgrade. We're not going to lie. But if you're adding a first-round pick, I love that second one. The first trade, if we were sending off of Saquon 105 for Jameson Williams, Jerry Jeudy 203. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought y'all could see this. Like, if we're breaking this down, I'd way rather have the 105 over Jameson Williams. 105, we're looking at like Jackson Smith and Jigba there. It's JSN, not even close for me. If we're looking at Saquon Barkley versus Jerry Jeudy 203, 203, it is a 10-team league, so it's going to be the 11th pick overall. So you're going to be looking at, say, Zay Flowers. But Zay Flowers, Jerry Jeudy versus Saquon Barkley in a 10-team league. Give me Barkley easily. But let's go ahead and let's dive into this. Am I looking at this correctly? I'm sorry. Oh, I think we actually traded for Saquon Barkley. Okay, let's just pull up this photo. Okay, so quarterback starting off, keep in mind, Superflex League. We have Jalen Hurts, Daniel Jones. So we have a little bit of an in-division rivalry here. That's not too much. But anyway, Russell Wilson, quarterback 3. In my mind, phenomenal quarterback room. The elite level guy with Jalen Hurts that gives us an incredible ceiling to be excited about. And then 2 QBs that we would feel comfortable playing in the Superflex spot. You could start Daniel Jones. You could start Russell Wilson. I think more times than not, Daniel Jones will be in there, but you can also pseudo play the matchups between these two players. Love where we sit there. And going down, we have a ton of rookie picks to be playing with as well. You're going to be very, very pretty at the quarterback position. Going over to RB, we have Jonathan Taylor, James Conner. Going down, we have Najee Harris. So it actually looks like we were the team that traded for Saquon Barkley in my mind. Regardless if we have Barkley in the team or not, I'm a little confused on that front. I think we are in a comfortable position. Jonathan Taylor, top 5 running back in Dynasty. If we're looking at James Conner, he's like a running back 2 right now on Underdog. But in my mind, I actually really like James Conner for this upcoming season. Of course, it's going to be a very bad offense. And of course, at the same time with James Conner, this is a running back that is difficult to say is a lock to stay healthy. But he will play on all 3 downs. He catches the ball out of the backfield. And to go along with this, he has the guaranteed contract this next season. Like, they can't get rid of him. James Conner will be an Arizona Cardinal this next year. So I feel very comfortable having him as an RB3. Najee Harris, running back on his rookie contract. I mean, we'll play all 3 downs. We'll get a ton of volume. Just really looking for where Kareem Hunt signs. I think Hunt could be a phenomenal option if he goes to Miami. Difficult to rely on that, of course. I mean, if this team has Saquon Barkley, it's ridiculous. Going over to wide receiver, rolling with the wide receiver 1 overall in Dynasty, the wide receiver 3 overall in Dynasty, the wide receiver like 5 or 6 overall in Dynasty. Arguably, we have 3 top 5 Dynasty wide receivers here with A.J. Brown, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb. Going down, we have Jerry Jeudy. I don't know if Jeudy was included in that deal as well as Jameson Williams for Saquon Barkley. I mean, I'm going to just hold my tongue with these 2 guys. We already talked about what we were thinking with the Saquon Barkley deal in general, how I definitely would prefer having Barkley on this team than those depth wide receivers. Outside of those 2 depth guys, we don't really have too much to be looking at the wide receiver position, but it's not a super deep league. And we have Lamb, Jefferson, A.J. Brown, and rookie picks to play with. We're completely fine. Don't know if we have Goddard or Hawkinson at tight end, but we're going to be great at tight end almost regardless, especially if we have these depth tight ends like Evan Ingram, tight end 2, and even decent tight end 3, tight end 4. You're phenomenal at tight end. But going over to the rookie draft, I really do want to look into this because in my mind, this is a very strong team that has no holes. Like I said, we have the elite quarterback, Jalen Hurts. We have respectable QB2, QB3 options. Going to wide receiver, we are elite. We have very strong running backs. We have no holes whatsoever. So in my mind, that just tells us we are easily able to go through and take best player available. 102, best player available will be quarterback. I don't know if that's going to be Stroud. I don't know if that's going to be Young. If Anthony Richardson were to go to the Carolina Panthers at 1, and if we were looking at him having the most rushing upside for fantasy football purposes and NFL talent evaluators telling us he's the best quarterback in the class, then at that point, Anthony Richardson would be the 102. But regardless of the way it breaks down, I think that we are going to have one of those quarterbacks at 2 added to a quarterback room that already has a ton of talent. And if you were to at that point want to go through and see if we throw Daniel Jones on the trade block, what we could be getting in return, I wouldn't hate it. Obviously, don't feel like you have to do it though. And then 107, we're going to be in a very nice spot as well because we're going to have Bijan, the 3 top QBs off the board. Then we're going to have some order of JSN, Jahmyr Gibbs, Will Levis. Based off of a lot of hype being around Will Levis's pro day today, sounded like previously you were most likely getting Levis at 7. I had him ranked at 5 before the pro day, but I think he's actually trending towards being that 5th overall pick. So if that were to be the case, we're going to be looking at one of JSN, Jahmyr Gibbs, both of whom would be a great fit in the flex. The only thing that's going to get difficult is if we were to take, say, CJ Stroud 102. I don't know who you like. It doesn't really matter. Say we were to take CJ Stroud at the 102. Then at that point, we have Will Levis falling to us at 7. And we are looking at a team that has Jalen Hurts, Russell Wilson, Daniel Jones, CJ Stroud, and taking Will Levis at pick 7 would be our QB5. Puts us in a horrible position. Based off of value and value alone, I would never be able to sell myself into taking like Jordan Addison over Will Levis if Will Levis is a top 10 NFL draft pick. So I would say you probably still need to take Will Levis there. But then at that point, we are in serious need to go through and sell one of those quarterbacks and get something to make it work. But I don't know. Overall, it's just a phenomenal roster. There are not too many trades to be making. I really hope whenever you were talking about the trade that you made since you posted these pictures, you actually got Saquon Barkley and the 105 for Jameson Jeudy and the 203. Because if you were able to come away with them, I mean, that would just be beautiful here, my friend. I really hope it wasn't the reverse. But thank you again for everything. And I really do hope you have a phenomenal day. But let's go over to Primetime's team. I see that he is in this live stream. So we are going to cover his team. And then I have so many of these that I need to do because like I said, I haven't done any of them in like 5 days since I've been moving, but I don't know if we're going to continue to do this as a live stream or maybe just switch over and start doing them as personalized podcasts. But if you actually enjoy me doing these live streams, please go down there, drop a like on the stream. If this stream hits 100 likes, we'll continue to break these down on the live stream. If not, I'll take off this suit and we'll go ahead and we'll just start making these as personalized podcasts. But Prime Time coming out says, League 12-team Superflex, startup before last season. The main trades we've made, we sold Mike Evans for a 2023 first, turned out to be the 112 and Calvin Ridley. Okay, honestly, if we're getting Ridley there, I think that's a phenomenal deal. I think a lot of people would maybe prefer Calvin Ridley over Mike Evans in general. Then our other one, the 112, 202, 2024 first for Deshaun Watson. That's beautiful, looking at how bad that 112 and 202 are going to be. The 102, 2 future seconds, and a future first for Justin Jefferson and a future third. Okay. What would you do without any first rounders until 2026? Okay. Okay, my friend. If we don't have any first round picks until 2026, when I pull this team up, this better be the best team I've ever seen. Because if we get an injury, if anything happens to us, it can turn into the Titanic quickly, and you sold all your lifeboats. Oh my gosh, I'm nervous. I am nervous. You don't even have any second round picks till 2020. Your first second round picks 2025. Okay. We'll get into it, but let me look at the trades overall. I'm just scared. I'm scared to pull up this team. Going through, I think the trades were phenomenal, if we're going to be honest. I mean, the 112, 202, you're looking at, like, just say Jalen Hyatt, Josh Downs, and a future first for Deshaun Watson. Duh, we're doing that. 102, 2025 first and 2 future seconds for Jefferson makes a lot of sense as well. This team better be a contender. This team better be able to win now. Looking at the league settings, not too much we need to discuss. Half PPR format, nothing we're looking at there. Now let's go over, look at this starting lineup, and send up a prayer that it's the best thing we've ever seen. Now, we are in a decent spot here. Quarterback, Josh Allen, Deshaun Watson. So, quarterback overall, Josh Allen, QB2, beautiful. Deshaun Watson, borderline top 5 QB in Dynasty, but another mid QB1 from a Dynasty fantasy football perspective with all the guaranteed money in the world. So we don't have to worry about Josh Allen, Deshaun Watson. Please tell me we have another starter at quarterback, though. Okay. We have Lance. Okay. Whew. Let's pray to God that Trey Lance turns out to be everything we've always wanted him to be. I don't know if it will happen, but if Lance is the starting quarterback for the 49ers this next season, and if we get Trey Lance, in my mind, as a quarterback with a ton of rushing upside and that coming to fruition, we should be happy. Going over to running back, looking at A.J. Dillon, James Cook. I hope we have players on the bench. If you're telling me we have no first-round picks till 2026, and our 2 running backs are A.J. Dillon, James Cook, presumably running back 3s, my friend, I may cry for you. On the bench, yeah, we have no running back help, and we have no depth either. Wide receiver, we have Jalen Waddle, Justin Jefferson, Jerry Jeudy, Calvin Ridley, Drake London. We have a phenomenal wide receiver room. I'm assuming you read the article we had on flogfantasy.com about Drake London last week. Love Drake London. I think secretly is an elite level wide receiver. I think he's going to be phenomenal. I really like this wide receiver room. Obviously, having the wide receiver 1 overall in Dynasty holding down is a great spot to be in. I think we're very happy with where we currently sit at wide receiver. We even have Elijah Moore, who in my mind finds a phenomenal landing spot in Cleveland to stack up with Deshaun Watson for us here. We have nobody at tight end. We have the second-year tight end in Tennessee. We have Irv Smith Jr., Taysom Hill. So we have nobody at tight end. I don't think we have another option. I think we have to sell Josh Allen. And I know you never say to sell Josh Allen. Josh Allen's someone you never move off of. But we have no real starting running backs. We have no running back depth. Like A.J. Dillon, James Cook are guys you would love to have as your RB3, RB4. But to have them as your running back 1, running back 2, we don't have top end talent and we don't have depth. So we have nothing at running back. We have nothing at tight end. We have no 2024 first. We have no 2025 first. Let me see what rookie picks we have. And we have no rookie picks. We have third rounders. They're not getting the job done. We have no 2024 seconds. Our only option here, in my mind, let me know in the live chat if y'all think I'm wrong. But in my mind, our only option will be to sell Josh Allen, get a quality running back that we would feel comfortable as our running back one, get a quality tight end that we would feel comfortable having as our tight end one, and get future picks. A trade that I think we could go through and look at is, say we sell Josh Allen, we get back Travis Etienne, TJ Hawkinson, a 2024 first, and a 2024 second. Obviously, you never want to sell Josh Allen. But in my mind, making that deal, moving Deshaun Watson to QB1, moving Trey Lance to QB2, preferably we can get another quarterback thrown in like Baker Mayfield to that deal, just so we can have someone to start as our quarterback 3. Sliding down A.J. Dillon to running back 2, James Cook to running back 3, sliding down the second-year tight end to our bench, and having that additional 2024 first, where then at that point, if something goes wrong during the season, our season's not completely ruined. We can actually sell that asset and maybe plug the hole on a sinking ship, because I can guarantee you'll have someone get injured this upcoming year. I don't know who it'll be. It'll be someone. I don't mind that idea, my friend. I think, honestly, we may have to do it. But thank you again for being a part of the vlog. Really hope that you were in this live stream now. It's just, I really like a lot of the assets we have. You just get put in such a difficult position. Such a difficult position when we have no future picks to play around with. But thank you again for everything. And as always, if there's anything I can do for you, please do not hesitate to reach out. But looks like we did not get 100 likes in the live stream, so it looks like we're probably going to cut this here. I'm going to continue to go through and break down these teams because I have a lot to get through for people who signed up to flockfantasy.com with promo code FLOCK. Like I said, we've been moving, so I've been falling behind on our work. But we'll be going through these, probably hopping an underdog draft as I do it. But it's just a lot easier to do these not on a live stream. But thank you again, everybody. Really do appreciate you. Really hope that you have a great Friday night. Really hope that you have a great weekend overall. And maybe we'll be live tomorrow. I don't know. We have a lot of these teams that we need to get through.